There we go. Countdown is done. I didn't realize it was going to say that there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live. We're back after CitizenCon. We're here on our only constant spaceship, in case some of you folks thought that was just built exclusively for CitizenCon. It was actually in place long before CitizenCon. We just figured we would just save it and debut it at the 10th anniversary. But now, this is the new forever home for Star Citizen Live and Inside Star Citizen, and maybe a few other things in the coming years that we're not quite ready to talk about. CitizenCon. That was the last big news. In case you missed it, or you've been hiding under a rock, or maybe you were at TwitchCon. On October 8th, we had our CitizenCon 2952, which emanated from here at the Only Constant, where we showcased all kinds of stuff like resource management and the new underground facilities and the new flight experience master mode changes, which we'll be talking a little bit more about today. A couple new spacecraft and vehicles like the Spirit and the STV, which we'll also be talking a little bit more about today, and all kinds of cool stuff. It was a pretty good event. You can check it out on Twitch or YouTube. I think it's all finally up on YouTube now. 4K processing times in YouTube are a thing, especially when one conversation is 2 hours and 17 minutes long and the other full show is like 5.5 hours long. You can upload that and it just sits there processing for days and days. And then it goes poof, you're ready. So, what is it? Hashtag free Jared. What is that about? I am free. I'm on a spaceship. I'm on a spaceship. Look at my spaceship. We got some special guests joining us on our spaceship. We've got, let me push the button here, John Crew and Ben Curtis. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Welcome back to the spaceship.
Yeah.
You were some of the first to see it.
It's been a long time since I first saw it.
When did we film CitizenCon? That was the end of August?
End of August.
Yeah. End of August was when we were filming your stuff, yeah. So this is your first time back?
A little less stressful rather than being sat like on your own under the spotlights this time. So.
Yeah.
20 people staring at you. Just.
We've left the Pyro system and we're now parked at beautiful New Babbage. At CitizenCon, you had a couple different presentations. John, you were responsible as part of the vehicle team for a couple presentations. But I want to start first talking about the new vehicles that debuted. The first one was the Spirit from Crusader. You've now had a chance to get that out there and get it out in front of people. What's the reception been like?
It's been pretty good. I think everyone's been super excited about it. A lot of confusion over the stats, and like hold my hands up, we made a mess of that. There was one of those beautiful storms of so many things that in isolation going wrong would have been caught, but because lots of things happened all at once, they slipped through. But I think we've got them all sorted now, that it's all correct on the website. So I enjoyed it the weekend, going onto Reddit and looking at all the theory crafting of what fits, what doesn't fit, what is the real size. I'm like, what is going on? Why is it like this? And
I think, that was the same with me. I saw there was someone who put up a post of like, this just doesn't fit this size. And I'm like, I'm sure we fixed all of this in concept. This is like the first thing we do is make sure things are, the size we need them to be. And clearly something had gone wrong.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, why another bomber? There are some members of the community out there who get very involved in the discussion about bombers and bombing and stuff like that. So we're adding another bomber right now.
Adding more fuel to the fire. Just
Why?
Like with a lot of Star Citizen things, we want to not just give you one choice. Like if you like bombers, you have the Hercules, and whilst that will have its other bomb option in the future, there was like a huge range on there, and we wanted to put something in the middle there. And when we were coming up with the Spirit, we knew we wanted to do variants at that time, and like doing the base cargo one and a VIP one were a shoe in. I was like, what's an interesting third one, and there were a few things that we could have gone with, but with the Hercules A2 in the lineup, it was like, well, let's put something in the middle of it.
Kind of fits the brand, and
Yeah.
I think, like I say, it's not all jobs need a sledgehammer. So some of them need something a little bit more finessed.
Now that said, we're having a little fun with the bombing discourse, but really though, I mean, like most systems in Star Citizen, bombing is not in its final stage. Like the bombing that's in the game right now, this is not the final design. This is not where it's going to end. This is not, oh yeah, that's done. And everything else is still a work in progress, but bombing is done. Like there's still lots of fine tuning. There's lots of other systems like armor penetration and the component system and all kinds of stuff that are going to affect the effectiveness of bombs going forward, right?
Yeah, all stats are subject to change. So there's a lot of gameplay systems, like the Centurion or sort of existed as sort of not a counter specifically to bombers, but a counter to threats coming in to attack ground locations. And it sort of does okay at its job in some aspects. There's other things like the bombs themselves do actually have minimum arm distances and minimum safe ranges before they're supposed to activate to prevent some of the problems that are out there. And we were looking into it recently and found that technically, it's one of these very programmery things that it does work. However, in reality, it doesn't work the way you think it works. Like there's a minimum safe radius for the bomb to arm, which is something like 50 meters. And that means if you've got a Hercules that's 49 meters off the ground, you drop it, hits the ground, doesn't go off. Great. The Hercules then flies 2 meters higher. The bomb then goes off. So there's lots of fun things like that we're working through.
I know. So again, for all this applies to every game system in Star Citizen today, but just because we're talking about bombing here, still a work in progress, still being developed. You should still absolutely continue to deliver your constructive feedback and stuff. And obviously, John Crew, the vehicle experience and feature teams and content teams, they're very keen to hear your feedback. And as more systems go into the game and affect the knock-ons that they have for each existing system are somewhat predictable and sometimes not predictable. So it's important to continue providing your feedback because that's the only way we learn and we know and we can act. So then the last spirit was the executive, the VIP stuff like this. I just want to touch on one thing because VIP transport isn't really in the game at this point. How does the Mixmaster work?
Let's get Tony on the phone and he
Tony! How does the Mixmaster
he will
work?
talk about it.
But no, I assume, is there something you can tell us about VIP transport? Is it on a roadmap somewhere? Is it coming?
It is. There is a design for it, but it is not in like the purview of any of the teams that myself or Ben look after. So it wouldn't be correct of me to sort of tell those teams when it's coming.
Besides the Spirit, we also introduced the straight to drivable, the Grey Cat STV.
Steve.
The Grey Cat Steve.
Yeah, we need
Official
to change that.
Grey Cat Steve.
Yeah.
I saw people trying to make the Grey Cat Pete or work for the PTV.
Yeah, it's the UTV that starts to fall off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Just let Steve be Steve. How's the reaction been to this thing? Are we happy with it so far? Are we happy with what people are out there doing with it?
To be honest, the reaction was really, really good for it. We it's a cute little ground vehicle. There's not a lot not to like about it, but I think it kind of ticks the utility needs, it ticks the racing needs, and I think it's a good all-rounder, and I think it seems to have gone down really well. So very happy with it.
Yeah.
And John, we touched on this a little bit in the interstitials for CitizenCon, but the ground speed changes and everything that came out around the same time. It's like this. We're going to say this a lot. Are these still in flux? Or is this the last ground speed changes we're going to see here?
There will be more, as I mentioned in the interstitials, which I don't think they made the cut into the the YouTube uploads. So unless you watch the full,
You have to watch the full show.
you have to watch the full show. To try and not redo it again in full, there is a new tyre handling and vehicle handling model coming, and we had redone the ground vehicles for that. But because of the way time works, and 318 didn't come out on the Evocati before 317.3 came, we had to very quickly at the last minute put an approximation of those speeds in the old model, just to sort of get the ball running, because if we had saved it, that same change would have just happened very close after, and everyone loves to think that we nerf ground vehicles immediately after they're released, and that's not the case. Like we balance them based on how they're performing.
Is it though?
I'm kind of sensing like a bit of a theme here, because like that happened, and then this spirit, and there was a lot of confusion over the spirit that kind of took the heat off of. You just like slowly, always got to put something in.
Don't ascribe motive and intent to things that just.
No, it was an honest.
Yes, sometimes things happen, and we had a meeting about it, and it was me and a lot of people inside the company being very angry, pointing fingers at me for doing this. I was like, it's this or it's the other way, and they're both going to have some negative reaction. So let's do it now rather than later.
As part of the ship segment, there was also the John Crew Pick a Ship Challenge, which changed this year. There was just one ship, a middle or
it's like high end's the wrong word. Later tier.
Mid-tier.
Yeah, mid
to high tier.
Mid to high tier.
Mining vehicle.
Yeah.
Mining vehicle. And there was the vote. I haven't actually seen it. Do we know who won the vote?
RSI won. I think it was about 44%.
Wait, why are you shaking your head, Ben? Why are you shaking your head at RSI?
Because it should have been Argo.
Why should it have been
All
Argo?
Ben's alt accounts did not.
Everyone likes Argo ships.
Does Ben like Argo
I
ships?
like Argo ships.
Ben likes Argo ships?
Yeah, they're orange.
Ben likes orange.
So now you've got to begin the process of designing a new mid to high mining vehicle in the RSI style. Where does this conversation start?
Like all things, it starts with a design brief, and that's actually sat on my desk back in the office. So when I'm finished here, gonna give it my sign off, and then pass it around through the design leads and Chris to give it the final sign off, and then that's where Ben
and then it comes
his team
to
will
us
jump in.
This will be, I guess, or will be one of the ships that I'll be running from concept forward, whereas up until now it's always been, running the production after the concept process, whereas, all the new ships at the moment are going to be from concept forward. So it'll be a nice learning curve. Make sure we learn from some of the issues we've had with making sure things are correctly documented from the start.
And we haven't had an RSI a ship in a while. I think the last one was maybe the Apollo. Somebody's going to be like, that's not the last ship. But it's Scorpius. Okay.
Yeah, but for me, I've only worked on the little RSI stuff, none of the big stuff. So it's going to be fun.
Where do you start? So say he's got the brief done, and now it comes to you. Where do you start?
Like really early is we'll just get the layout is what we need to work on first, and really that's the stuff that kind of like sets the foundation of like how big the overall ship's going to be. Because a lot of the time, the design guys will have their wish list of these are the things we want to fit in the ship, but because of our game is the way it is, that needs to physically fit in the ship. And that kind of can dictate a lot of how big the ship's going to be and how much space we want to assign to the different elements of it. And then once we've kind of got the floor plan down and the rough idea, it then goes into the art style, looking at all of our kind of like library of RSI stuff, looking at the bits that...
Lots of struts.
All the struts.
Struts, the weird
angles,
kind of angles.
Yeah, lots of nice sharp angles in it. But yeah, just and the thing with all of our stuff is there's a timeline to our game as well as our manufacturers. Right. So it might be, we've got to decide where it sits on the timeline of RSI itself, and when its release date is. And
thank you for bringing that, because one of my big bugaboos, the things that I'm going to go to my camera for this, one of the things that always gets me is this idea that manufacturers can only look a certain way. I mean, you look at Ford over the course of 60 years, and Ford has changed dramatically. You look at the Ford Mustang, not just the manufacturer, but a specific model of vehicle, and it has gone through some dramatic changes over 60 years. Our ship manufacturers have been around for 100, 200, 300 years. So there's got to be some real division in even within the manufacturers. I mean, is it possible? I mean, don't give me false hope here, Ben, but is it possible we might see an RSI that isn't so angular or doesn't have the struts?
I think it still needs to have its core elements, and angles and struts, RSI, it's fine.
The thing you like Argo so much.
I do like.
Maybe
move
some of that Argo stuff into RSI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we could have the struts and the crash barriers.
Struts
and
on the outside.
protection. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Aegis is a great example of that because back when the project first started, Aegis were, I think, a dead manufacturer. Mm-hmm. Like the Gladius and Retaliator were like the last of their lineup. I think they'd lost. Narrative people are going to be screaming at me now. I think they'd lost all the recent UEE military contracts to Anvil, so they'd essentially gone out of business or similar. But because this is a game and things can change, when Foundry 42, as it was back then, came on and we made those ships, Chris loved them so much that we were like, let's do some more Aegis ships. So the brand came back from the dead, and then you've got old Aegis. Then you've got new Aegis like the Eclipse and the Sabre.
Yeah. And then you see it in the real world. Manufacturers take cues from other manufacturers. Remember when that new Mustang came out, and then you saw Dodge, or I think it was like maybe the Dodge Challenger first, that new Challenger, and then you started seeing all of these cars all adopt a very similar shape language, even from other manufacturers.
I love the way your reference points is like Mustangs and Challengers, whereas mine's like Fiestas and Escorts. They're like
Skodas.
Yeah. Well, no, I was a Ford guy, but we've just got different Fords over here.
Okay. And then also at CitizenCon we talked about master modes.
Yes.
The master modes are the big change to the flight experience that are being developed and tested in Squadron 42 now. We had originally hoped to have Rich Towler here to talk about that stuff, so we won't be touching too much on it. We'll be sure we have him on the show soon to go into that. But reactions to master modes have been pretty across the spectrum, I would say. I've seen a lot of people that recognize that, oh yeah, this will do it. This is exactly what it is. And then, as always with any big change, there are people that are like, no, I don't see how this will work. You're just going to segment the game. We knew this was going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. With the change of this scale, we knew that like this reaction was going to happen, and there was only so much we could put into that CitizenCon presentation. I think the guys did a great job of getting the basics out there, but we couldn't cover everything. So there was lots of questions about, hey, is my cargo ship just going to get ganked all the time now? Or what happens to racing? And those are all...
The answer is yes.
Yeah. 100% ganked. And we knew those questions would come up. We just didn't have time to expand upon it in that piece. So when Rich and the team get a chance to do it again, like I say, it was supposed to be today, but sickness and holidays fought against us. Yep. We'll go over what the plans for those are, because it's their pet project that they've been working on for a long time, and it should really be them that gets to explain it in depth. Now that said, we got a little bit more time with you before we let you go. Ben, I understand one of the questions that we get...
I feel like I'm in trouble.
Here. Well, it's not necessarily just you. Okay. It's for both of you. One of the questions that we get pretty regularly, anytime we have the ship folks on, is what can you tell me about the 600i rework? Is now my time? It's that 600i. I guess let's just be realistic about it. It fell short. It fell short of a lot of the expectations for some people. A lot of empty space and stuff like this, which happens during production. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to Ben here, and I'm saying this right now, and he's just like,
no,
he's like mad dogging me. He's like, no,
I didn't work on the 600. It's fine.
He didn't. But folks have been waiting to hear some stuff about this, and we're going to go
can wait
ahead. I
some
think
more.
maybe we can actually show some stuff. Do you think we can do that?
Yeah.
Well, tell us where we're at right now. Well, where are we at in this process of the 600i?
I guess at the moment, we've done a kind of high-level concept pass on it. Like I say, we've worked out the floor plans. We've worked out where the space was wasted, and we've kind of massaged a few more, bit more functionality out of the space that we had to play with. And yeah, we've like I say, we've done our floor plans, done our concept pass, and it's kind of just waiting for its slot, really. Yeah, and on the ship team, we tend to plan. Ships take a reasonable amount of time to do, and you do little ships, they're a bit quicker. You do big ships, and they are a large investment of time. And really, the 600 is a fairly sizable ship. I know, it is a rework, and it is.
It's not an update.
It's the majority of the interior is changing for one way or another. I think the captain's quarters is staying.
The bridge and the captain's quarters underneath it are.
Yeah, although
Hashtag free Jared. We're going to get to some of the images here right now before we talk through everything. When we do have images clear up, but I do want to add before we get into it that the 600i also came around. It was the first Origin ship of that size to be built and whatnot. So when you're building a first ship of a new manufacturer at that scale, there's a lot of that time is spent creating entirely new assets and stuff like that. So it's usually the second ship that comes around benefits a bit more, like the 890 Jump did, and stuff like this. So it's with anything, the more ships we make, the better we get at it.
Yeah, and I think Origin's got a really strong art style. An Origin ship, and I think if you ever get in an Origin ship and you don't know it's an Origin ship, we've just failed. So I think the Origin stuff is instantly recognisable, at least it should be. So that's one of the kind of the luxuries of doing this manufacturer, is the fact that the art style is like really kind of.
So what are we looking at right here? What is this?
So this is the crew quarters. This is like the split deck. So basically you've got. I mean, I don't know how much do we want to talk about it.
We talk about it a little bit. It is worth noting that there will be a segment in a couple of weeks during IAE where we talk a little bit more about the 600i. We're going to go through the layout and stuff like this. We'll show more images and maybe even a little bit about some other ships too. But we had these guys here and we thought we'd just do a teaser. So we're gonna cover a couple images here, and then we'll come back for the bigger look in a few weeks. So feel free to talk.
Do you want to talk about the overall layout?
Yeah, without spoiling the future thing, just to say layout-wise, currently the 600i, the middle section is the module that changed.
Yeah.
If you mentally think of the entire interior back half changing as the module now with the rework, and the middle section is the shared crew quarters, that's the best way to think about it in terms of where you're seeing these images. Like this one here is the back of the touring module now, so you see we've kept the big glass window.
We've tried to stay true to the exterior as much as we possibly can. There is going to be a few subtle changes. It shouldn't grow or shrink or change in any form. So it should be the 600 that everyone, you can do that face, you can do it, but it should be the 600 that everyone kind of loves already. But there is, we need to improve the dock and collar.
The weapon and turret integration. And
the lifts are changing.
There's
escape pods,
some extra windows on the top.
So there is some exterior changes, but the majority of it's going to stay as true to its current form as possibly can.
What is this?
This is the cargo lift area of the Explorer.
This is a cargo lift?
Yep.
This is the fanciest cargo lift I've ever seen.
Origin.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And just to make people extra happy, that cargo lift fits a Nova on there now.
Yeah.
It fits a Nova?
Yep. So like, when we say there was a lot of wasted space inside the 600i, there was a lot of space in there that we've claimed back with the modern way of thinking of doing layouts. Like there's actually 3 decks in the 600i rework, and the bottom one of the Explorer can hold that.
And this cargo room. Sorry.
I just, my first thought is that the Nova is a stylish clash with Origin, and maybe
Origin tank.
We should be doing an Origin tank.
Origin hover tank.
We're going to go back to the images now before I get somebody in trouble. So we got the cargo thing.
Got the cargo lift.
Yeah.
You can kind of see in this, there's actually a few interior lifts as well to allow you to kind of move cargo up through the ship, because there's other areas of the ship that allow us to store cargo as well.
Yeah, the big cargo lift at, I guess, the middle of that picture only goes to the outside, and then the one closer to you goes between the decks.
This is more shot from the other angle.
Yeah, reverse angle of that one. Again, this is all concept. None of this is in production yet.
Yeah, we haven't started on the 600 production-wise, just to be completely.
Okay, look at the camera and say that. Hold on. There.
Which this camera? We have not started on the 600i rework yet.
This is just concept.
Just concept.
Just concept. And this was me wondering about an origin tank. That is not how things get made here. People don't go to like Reddit and be like, they confirmed this. This was literally a random idea that I had in my head right now, and they don't listen to me for anything. Otherwise, we'd have a whole lot. We'd have that jalopy by now. Where's my jalopy, John?
Stop bringing up the
Where's
jalopy.
my jalopy?
It's not going to happen.
See, they don't listen to me.
Don't talk to them about the
So what is this room?
This is the armory.
Yep. So this is sort of top deck of the Explorer version.
Yeah, and there's, again, decent amount of size, so each crew should have multiple suit locker space, multiple weapon racks. It's well decked out for...
big moon roof.
Yes.
And then this looks like this.
Just alternative.
Yeah, we can't decide on what colour we want it.
Gotcha.
No
is the armory in both
interior
versions? Could one of these be like?
It's only in the Explorer.
Gotcha. What's the executive version? Is that an Explorer?
Not decided, and I can never remember which one.
Gotcha. Because I mean that could be the executive, and that could be the. Again,
interior tinting.
Just me wondering out loud. Don't.
Yeah, interior tinting isn't doable. As much as I hate it, it's just something we can't do yet. Yeah. So it's one or the other at the moment.
Okay.
That does make a little sad face.
What else we got here? What's this? That looks like a cargo ramp or something.
Yeah, I think.
I think this is the
upstairs, isn't it?
This is the middle deck of the Explorer. So this is the cargo ramp we talked about before. There is a storage room for all your stuff.
Yeah. So basically, you're not having to bring your cargo up and just leave it there and then not be able to fit anything else in. You can bring that cargo up, move it up to its storage, and then you've got that ramp free for other activities.
Yeah. Scotty Ford in the chat is saying can't tint the interior. Scotty Ford can't tint the interior. You can still the paint in the tint system for the exterior is still there. It's just we can't paint the interiors.
Just the way we build our ships, those two systems don't work together.
Yeah.
So, thank you for the concern, Scotty Ford. In case anybody was wondering if we're really live. Yes.
Touring time.
Whoa.
Bit of a style change.
That looks like, remember that image of Goss that we used for like every CitizenCon and Gamescom that we did for years, like 2013, 2014, 2015? This reminds me of Goss.
When I was picking the images for this one, I gravitated to this one, and then the more I looked at it, I preferred the other colour ones we have, because there's...
Was there another colour?
There's a blue and orange one, and some other colours, but think of those light things as
and
RGB lights.
A lot of this as well is, like I say, this is concept. This is kind of like kind of defining the idea. When we get into production, there is still that. Okay, are we happy with where we're at here? Does it actually kind of visually look how we want it? So there is always that kind of iteration on things like the colours on the walls, the lighting colours, and what we really want to kind of like sell the mood as. We get to tend to prefer to do that stuff.
And then this is like a water wall.
Yes, it's a little triangular swimming pool, water feature, and off here you can just about see it in the back there, a sauna and steam room. So taking what we did for the 890, scale it down a little.
You make it sound so easy, John.
Non-uniform scale.
Yeah.
Take it, scale it down, export, make game.
Submit, job done.
Yeah.
Run holiday, brilliant.
And that's all we got for today. So.
Yeah.
So that's a brief look at the 600i concept rework. We'll be looking more at it in a couple weeks during IAE. We'll talk about the layout, and you said it was 3 levels now?
Yeah.
3 levels now and stuff like that. So expect to see more on ISC in a couple weeks. John, Ben, that's it. That's all we got for you. Thank you so much for coming over, hanging out, being here on the first, what we're calling internally
in the posh
ISC
seats.
2.0.
Very nice, aren't they?
Do you like the chairs?
I do like the
Do you
chairs,
like the
yeah.
chairs? They're very comfortable. All right, so we are going to take a short break and play a message from some of our sponsors. And when we come back, we'll have members from our programming team on to discuss what it's like being a programmer and what the heck the difference between a programmer and an engineer is. I don't really know. So stay tuned. It's coming up next.
Are you traveling the stars? Exploring the galaxy? That's lonely, lonely, hungry work. Always remember though, Big Benny's with you. Big Benny always has your back. Big Benny. Eat his food. Rabbit!
What a time to be a citizen! Dumpers Depot's having a galaxy-wide fire sale. Forget about that Olympus Principal Health Insurance when you can get this Basilisk Rampart Shield Jenny for only $25,999. You'll feel so safe you could go for a family vacation in the Pyro system. And who needs jump points when you can get these Waytech XL1 Quantum drives for only $49,999? Only at Dumpers Depot. Hell, these deals are so good, the Nine Tails will stop blockading stations and start some honest trading. So get on over to your nearest Dumpers Depot before it's too late.
Here at Kelto, we have one simple goal: to bring you the items you need quickly and easily. We've got everything you need: food, drinks, toys for the little ones, guns for the wife, all inside one store, Kelto. Just walk inside to begin your astronomical savings. Using the latest in Mobi technology and machine learning, we know exactly what you've picked up and have already charged you. Want something hot and ready to go? How about hot dogs, nachos, or burritos? Kelto. We've even got the latest in Gemini ballistic weapons, like the Gemini F-55 LMG, featuring an explosive rate of fire that tops over 1,000 rounds per minute. It's the best light machine gun you can get in a convenience store. Looking for something a bit smaller for the kids? We also carry the Gemini LH86 pistol, perfect for those small hands. So come down to Kelto today for quality products at low prices.
And we're back. Those were some of the community and org-related commercials and recruitment videos that were created for last year's CitizenCon, and we want to encourage you to do it again. We are, as the new Star Citizen Live begins to reformat and grow into the thing that we want it to become, we're going to need little bits like that to stick in there while we do scene changes and set changes and stuff. Plus, we just want to get back to involving as much of the community and community content as we can. This is our 10th year, and while Star Citizen has grown by leaps and bounds in our manner of presentations and stuff, there are some things that go back to the earliest days, or like Wingman's Hangar, where we included community content in our programming, and we want to get back to that. So this is my invite to you to create, to make org commercials, advertisements, or short form videos about anything in the verse, just narratively driven, anywhere from 45 seconds to, let's say, 90 seconds, or maybe even 2 minutes, depending, don't overstay your welcome. We want to try to bring as many people in as possible. But yeah, and submit them to the Community Hub. And then we'll be able to see them, and other people will be able to vote on them and vote them up. If you didn't know, there's a brand new Community Hub that you can access at the robertsspaceindustries.com website. But you put that stuff up there, and who knows, maybe it'll be showcased here in Star Citizen Live each and every week. Now, our second feature of the day is a bit about the life of a programmer. And joining us on the show are three members from our Manchester office of programmers. What team are you on? It's the EUPU team. Introduce yourselves. We'll start. You start right there. Who are you?
Hi. Where do I look for this?
You look at me. Just look.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Jacob. I'm one of the programmers on EUPU. So I've been doing stuff like loot generation, and I'm currently working on salvage.
You've also worked on like the room system and harvestables.
Yeah. I'm one of the maintainers of those things as well. So yeah.
How long have you been with the company now?
Nearly 2 years now.
2 years, and you've already done harvestables.
Room system, harvestables, loot, salvage. Yeah.
All right. Yarrow, who are you? What do you do?
Well, I'm Yarrow. I'm a bit less than Jacob. I've been doing laser trip mines. I've been doing some of the mining gadget work, actually after Guillermo worked on it before. And now it's all resource network, so life support and gravity, all that fun stuff for the last...
Just fun stuff like life support and gravity.
Yeah.
Just some small fundamental systems that will change life as we know it in the verse.
Just like quick tiny features.
Okay. And Guillermo, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, well, I'm Guillermo, and I'm a gameplay programmer here, and yeah, I do a bunch of stuff, mostly mining these days, but I'm also the owner for the Resource Network feature, and yes, Yarrow said, I also worked on stuff like the mining gadgets and harvestables and stuff like that.
Scoot a little bit to your right. We only got two chairs. We only got two chairs, and we didn't want to leave Guillermo out. So we're on our first show. We're already calling an audible here to see if we can't get a third person. Hi, Guillermo, back there. We'll promise you'll get one of the comfy chairs next time. So let's talk about the life of a programmer and start with the simplest thing. What is a programmer? What does a programmer do in video games? Imagine you're at like a picnic or something with your family, and your mom brings her best friend over, and she's like, "Yarrow, honey, tell Aunt Baru what it is that you do." Like, how do you explain what the heck a programmer does?
Well, trying to explain it to your granny is always a bad idea because they're not going to be interested. Yeah, what we do is basically we turn the designer's ideas into something that will actually work in the engine. Often what we do is we make the tools that then the level and content designers use to create the gameplay.
All right. Yarrow, Guillermo, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I guess Thorsten comes up with idea, he sends me a GDD, I then look at it, and then we kind of translate it into code and tasks, and then do the tasks. And yeah, just combining the code together.
And how about you, Guillermo?
Yeah, well, I will add also that depending on the feature, a lot of the times we will also be doing a bit of the initial UI work or a bit of the initial design work because, we need to actually test the features before we give them back. So you end up doing a bit of everything, honestly.
So you mentioned designers, but it's also artists and everything. It's everybody. They come up with these ideas. We want to do this or we want to do this. And then it comes to programmers to actually be like, all right, we'll figure out a way to do that. Is that about right?
Often our job is to crush the designer's dreams because they want to do all this and we tell them, no, you can do only this.
We've literally got a director of design and a director of art sitting behind you right here. They're not mites, so they can't talk back. Is there anything you want to tell them?
Great job.
Stop asking for crazy crap?
No, I think it's more about adjusting what design is together with code so that it kind of functions together so you don't end up making a specific feature for one tiny thing if it can be a bit more generic and kind of suit more things so that we don't do repeat code all the time, because obviously nobody wants to write a lot of code and then it just gets trashed because the new feature, incorporates it.
I know that one of the big topics in 3.18 right now is persistent entity streaming, PES, and so this foundational change to everything in Star Citizen. I know maybe it doesn't necessarily affect design a whole lot, although it does because things will work differently. And art, they're just Ben's over there like PES, what? It doesn't affect me at all. But I imagine you guys are on the front lines. Like this is the PES is what really is. It's got to be wrecking havoc with your stuff. And what's this like? Am I wrong? Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right that a lot of the gameplay teams are now having to rethink their code to make it properly compatible with PS. I mean, a lot of it works, but a lot of it needs just some tweaks, some improvements. So yeah, one of the largest tasks on us at the moment is to reevaluate all of our existing systems and make sure that they're up to date with the latest tech.
I'm getting a message here. It literally says, the guy with the curly blonde hair is a twin for UFC fighter Paddy Pimblett.
Unfortunately, I don't train MMA yet.
No?
I might start. I mean, clearly.
You got the looks.
Yeah.
So with the work on PS, right now, I know you're doing a lot of work, actually I may have mixed that up. You're doing a lot of work for hull scraping,
Yes.
for hull scraping, and is how's that going? Are we there? Is it done? Are you just coasting until 3.18 comes out?
Definitely not. There's still stuff to do, but we're at a really good point at the moment. It's mainly kind of putting the finishing touches on and bug fixing. Yeah.
Yarrow, I know we talked about when I came by your desk the other day, you were looking at some old resource management prototypes that Calyx had made back in the LA studio, years ago. Why were you looking at old stuff from the past?
Cool. It's cool. It's just like I feel like possibilities for like resource network and incorporating like different types of distraction. We're also like talking with Guillermo about that. Like there's a lots of gameplay opportunities, and like I feel like that's also to add to what does programmer do. We kind of also come up with ideas and then go to Thorsten like, oh, maybe we should try something new.
Now, when I was walking by your desk, so this was a prototype. Yeah. So prototypes get made internally all the time. Calyx had made this one like a year and a half ago, and it was a very robust. It was to repair a vending machine. Is that what it was?
Like a whole vending machine simulator, basically, with like lots of parts you could pick apart, and then like some fuses, whatever. But yeah, then you need to translate it into the game with like networking and all that, and that's obviously like way more work on top of that.
And his job was to basically make the most complex vending machine, possible within the game, with smaller subcomponents and everything, just to see how far you can push a prototype. But now what you're doing, and I want to talk about this because this happens to everything here. You're now taking this prototype and you have to see what can work with every other game system that's in the thing, because when you prototype, you get to work alone, independently, in a world all by yourself. You don't have to worry about what other systems you're stepping on and who others work you're ruining and stuff. But now, your job as programmers, you have to now then bring this and integrate this into the world. So. Is that easy? Is that hard? I know it's not easy, but how often do you have to like strip things out? They're like, oh, we'd love to do that, but you can't do that because of this feature, and you can't do that because of this other feature that we have, and stuff like this. What is this like? And Guillermo, you're gonna be able to talk a ton about this. So what do you got?
So usually we have two things. Either the release is pretty close, and we cannot really rewrite the game fundamentally to support all the things we would like to do. Or in this case of Resource Network, it's actually the opposite. We usually just go to one of the directors and say, hey, this system is not really compatible with what we want to do. And people say, okay, fine, rewrite it. And which is kind of liberating. You're not really held down by usually your own old code. That usually comes to bite me in the ass a lot. But no, actually, you get a lot of freedom to sit back with everybody who is going to have to use this system and say, okay, what does everybody want out of it? Like for instance, in this case, the research network, all the future storage containers, the fuel, power, and stuff like that, use the same underlying logic as the cargo containers that we're getting with physicalized cargo.
All right.
So at least if the research network has to move cargo for whatever reason, maybe refinery ships, stuff like that in the future, that's going to be the same system. So good.
Well, that's why it's so important to build these things systemically, so that so that each one feeds into the next one whenever possible, but that systemic nature is also where bugs are bred. Is most of your time? We talked about how a lot of your time is spent creating the things and making the things possible that design and art and ask for you. But how much of your time is going around cleaning up after other people and like, this worked 2 patches ago, what did you do?
A fair bit. We do, every single sprint we have, there's always a section of bugs to fix. Some of them are ones that we caused, some of them aren't, some of them are things that are just kind of a side effect of other things changing. But yeah, we spend plenty of our time bug fixing.
We used to do a broadcast with a gameplay programmer named Mark Abent out of the LA office called Bug Smashers, where he would basically go through and showcase the process of making bugs. The process of making bugs is easy. Showcase the process of fixing bugs. The challenge was always to find interesting bugs, because most bugs are pretty inane and tedious, and it's like, oh, every third step has a frame stutter or something like this. So we always struggled to find interesting bugs or unique bugs. We also used to do a broadcast called The Witch Glitch. Shout out to Tyler Wicken, by the way. Hi. Where we used to, showcase our, the more creative or more interesting bugs there. If I ask you now, what were some of the more interesting or creative or maybe just absolute pain in the butt bugs that you've had to deal with in the past?
So
what come to mind? One
definitely stands out. Recently, we've had quite a amusing one with the room system, because we found that we were getting some room system crashes when people were doing stuff with the inventory, and that doesn't make any sense. They're completely unrelated. Eventually, after a lot of pain, we figured out that it was to do with helmets. When you drag a helmet out of the inventory and it goes as like a preview on your head, well, a helmet has a room inside, but it's not a real room when it's just the UI preview. It's this, the hologram UI helmet, but the room inside the hologram was still trying to talk to the real room system and going horribly wrong because of that. So yeah, we had ghost rooms from helmets.
There's a room inside the helmets. Sure, why not?
Room is anything that contains atmosphere to breathe from, all of that. So yeah.
What about you, Guillermo? Yarrow, you got anything?
I think we had some interesting ones when we added refueling. That was another feature I worked on. Mostly about the docking, because up until then, docking was something that happened between the stations, which are static and have infinite mass for all purposes, and a ship that is also not trying to move away. But once refueling came in, people were trying to quantum travel with ships. We're doing like catapulting ships. You extend the arm, accelerate to cruise speed, and you release the fighter and go spinning, stuff like that. The code was supposed to handle that. It was supposed to break. It was supposed to, punish the players. It didn't. So we were getting some pretty funny situations where ships will start clipping back and forth inside the Starfarer. Hopefully, you guys are not seeing that so much these days, but it was pretty funny to debug.
Fair enough. What do you got, Yarrow?
I cannot think of any particular bug.
Can't think of one. One of my favorite classic bugs was way back in Arena Commander days. I think this predated the PU. Ships like Hornets and whatnot would just explode randomly. And it's sometimes they would explode after 2 minutes of flight, sometimes they would explode after 8 minutes of flight, and it was so hard to try to replicate it. Some people could fly forever and be fine, and it was on a Hornet, if I remember correctly. I reserve the right to be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it was a Hornet. Maybe John Crew might remember this when I get to it. But eventually what they determined was the old flight suit had a flashlight that hung. Yes, he's not John Crew's nodding in the background right now. The old flight suit had a flashlight that hung on the belt, and because of the physicalized nature of the thing, when you were doing certain moves, hitting certain G's, the flashlight was binging the side of the ship for 1 point of damage, 1 point of damage, 1 point of damage, until eventually the ship exploded. And there was no predicting it. There was no, it was impossible to track because everybody flies different and pulls different moves and stuff like that. So that was my awakening to, holy crap, these things can come from anywhere, even from a stupid flashlight.
I think we still have that one, but for mining ships, the mining consumables that you can put on the heads tended to detach without inheriting the speed too. So if you are cruising through the Yellow asteroid belt after mining a rock, and suddenly one of your modifiers expires and tries to detach itself from the ship, you would suddenly have had a collision 1,000 meters per second, and yeah. I'm really sorry for all the mining players out there.
Look directly into this camera right here. There you go. And apologize to the players.
Sorry.
We need to add a zoom. By the way, for folks who have noticed things like some soft focus issues and things, we're still working out with the number of cameras and stuff like this. I promise we will. This is our first time filming a live show in the spaceship with this crew and this set. The CitizenCon was a different group, stuff like this. So bear with us while we work out the kinks and whatnot. Hopefully, just like our spaceships, we'll get better the more and more we do about these. So you guys also, this week has been this week and last week, was it this week and last week? I don't know, recently, in the last week and a half, we've started moving into the office. The new Manchester office here at the Goods Yard has opened up. You were some of the very first tenants to come in. Talk to me, what's that experience been like?
It's been pretty great. For me, I was working remote ever since I joined. I hadn't been to the Wilmslow office either, so it's great to get in and finally actually meet everyone.
Oh, that's right, because you were hired in during the pandemic, so you never even went to the Wilmslow office.
I joined during the pandemic and I've been remote the whole time, so yeah, now I get to actually meet everyone and chat and see people who I've only seen in Teams.
The 3D freaks you out, right? Because you get used to people being 2D and flat. And there are people that I've had hours of conversations with, and I see them for the first time in 3D, and I'm like, I don't know who they are. And they're like, dude, it's me, William. And I'm like, I just didn't expect your face to come out like this. It's weird. Yarrow, Guillermo, you enjoying your time in the new office? What's your favorite thing about the new office so far?
Yeah, I feel like it's way easier to kind of have those small chats when I have a bug or something, and I wouldn't normally write a Teams message because it's just whatever thing. But if Guillermo's sitting right next to me, it's easier to just be like, yeah, okay, what do you think about that? And I feel like it kind of speeds up stuff on some things.
Oh. Yeah, you get a lot of that kind of collaboration. I think now it's really easy to go like I'm gonna say I don't like meetings. Maybe there's somebody in the audience who likes meetings. I'm sorry for them. But on the other hand, talking to people, just going to them and talking as long as they are not in the middle of something more important works for solving a lot of the small issues we have. Figuring out a bug, understanding exactly what they mean in one of their messages that they found on the Jira or on Teams. Things like that. I think being in person works better for me at least.
Fair enough. Guillermo, I don't like meetings. The shot right there, just screenshot that and zoom in, and you can meme that underneath. So, gentlemen, that's it. That's your first Star Citizen Live in person. Anyway, we've done the Zoom ones. What do you think? You like it better in person than?
Oh yeah,
Zoom?
very much. It's
comfy chair.
It is a comfy chair. Guillermo, again, I promise we'll get you in the comfy chair next time. We'll make somebody else sit behind. So yeah, let's go to this camera here. Thanks for watching, everybody. That's been Star Citizen Live. Don't forget that the Halloween promotion, there's a couple of different Halloween promotions and contests and things going on right now. You can jump into the universe and for your chance to loot a couple cool Halloween-themed spooky helmets and stuff. And then I think there's a number of social media things going online. You can check out the robertsspaceindustries.com website for details, or the Star Citizen socials on Twitter, Instagram, and if I'm not mistaken, there's even a TikTok now. I haven't checked it out, but I did get a message just the other day asking me about, pitching me on an idea to participate with the Star Citizen TikTok. And I think I like bad ideas just enough that I might actually do that. So yeah, so we'll see how that pans out. Inside Star Citizen, names, returns next week. We've got a look at the planning stages for the new underground facilities that you saw revealed at CitizenCon. They have moved directly into production, and we're going to be talking to John Griffiths, and he's going to take us through basically a look at how we plan out the scope of work for a new feature or a location. It's a kind of development story we haven't told before, and I'm excited to jump into that. And then our own friend Sylvan from the engine team, he's going to talk all about the Gen 12 improvements that are coming to Star Citizen with Alpha 3.18 and beyond. So that's Inside Star Citizen on Thursday of next week, and then we'll be right back here. Who knows what'll happen? We're still figuring this one out, but rest assured, we'll see if we can't work out some of the focus issues and everything. So for everybody here, we'll go to the big thing here. For everybody here at Star Citizen, thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.